And I've been told that it is 40% matter and chemistry review, 20% energy, 20% of history, 20% evolution. So it's going to be a big chunk of review from our first strand, which was the conditional matter strand. So after we finish with evolution next Friday, we're going to move into kinda, sorta introducing the hydrosphere unit, which is the water unit. We'll talk about oceans, rivers, ponds, all that good stuff. But we're also going to be doing a lot of reviewing for the benchmarks. So the benchmarks, after we get back from Christmas, we're going to have 13 days, like including weekends. 13 days, less than 2 weeks. So really about 9 school days. And that's not a lot, so we got a lot to do. All right, so let me see. Now that everybody's here, let's see. 5, 5, 5. Okay. We have an uneven number, that's okay. We're going to be making a foldable for your interactive notebook about taxonomy. You really, really got to pay attention to the instructions I'm about to give you, because there's a certain way to fold and cut these stacks of papers so that they make a flat book. When we're done, it will look a little bit like this. It won't be as wide because we're going to cut ours in half. You really don't need all of that, but we're not putting a lot of information on it. And it won't fit in your notebook like that. Yep. All right, how to make the fold. And I'm going to say their directions I've liked in the past, but I don't much care for it now. I found a better way to do it. So what I want you to do is take your 5 pieces of paper and you're going to line them up so that they overlap with about ½ an inch left over. Let me show you what that looks like. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, check out what I've got. When you line them up, they're going to overlap. You're going to have 5 papers overlapping. The top one's going to, each one that you put on top is going to be about ½ an inch higher than the bottom. See? So another one down. Yep. Anybody needs help, let me know. Good. All right. Once you have them overlapped, you're going to fold the whole thing down so that this part, the bottom, is again about ½ an inch. Let me fold it over and show you what it looks like when it's all done. Alright, you're gonna fold the top towards the bottom, but only about halfway. So when you're done, you're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 flaps. So you fold the whole thing, not in half, but maybe in a third. Should I fold this right? Everybody get it? Awesome. Alright. What you're going to do now is staple it in 2 places. At the very, very top. About 1/3 from the end, 1/3 from the end. Just like this. Not at the very edges, but about 1 inch in on either side. So like a thumbprint in.
Put your thumb on it and then
And your thumb right there is about 1 inch. It's not even. Look at it. I put the sections down.
no, right there, on this side. Oh my God! Yes. But she is dumb. Bad dumb. First you gotta write on the book. Why do we need scissors? Oh, we got 3 by consistency. That joke was funny. I'm ready to hit some more threes. No, it's not talking. It's always hating. Like, you a hater. Start. Bruh, like, that was one time. You know what you want to have one. The game was over. Yeah.
How many you have?
Huh? 0. There's I got the ball. Well, I could have had it 3 times. You know, one slip. And then, no, because I had a rebound. And then Javon, that boy jumped right in front of me.
No, I mean, you have me both multiple rebounds, and now it's bounced off your hands.
When?
Everybody stable? Alright, after you staple it, I want you to fold it vertically in half.
That's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun,
Dude, I know.
This last the fold.
I told you that.
Once you have folded, you're gonna cut it down the middle on that fold.
Why
And
is it?
then you get one half, your partner gets the other half, and whoever around you doesn't have.
That one, I could have, but I'm pushing you. And then all of them. They That's probably why I didn't put that much. That's probably why I didn't put that much. Make sure my Bro, you're not,
Yeah, yeah.
you guys have tummy trouble, no?
Only had two, but
You always have tummy
but my
trouble. The jump messed up. Yes.
All right. So on the very cut it, hurry up. Doesn't have to be perfect. So on the top flat where your title is, you're going to write taxonomy, biological classification. Brooklyn, put the book up. All right, everybody got that? All right, hurry up.
No, because I didn't know something different.
All right, moving on. What is the top level or broadest level of classification?
Kingdoms.
What comes before kingdoms? Domains come before kingdoms. So domains, then kingdoms, then phylums, then class and order, family, genus, and species. They gave you a mnemonic yesterday, or day before, whenever you watched the video, of at least, if you remember the domains first, then the mnemonic comes after that. Do you remember? Does anybody remember what the mnemonic was? Something about ponds.
But it was-
If pond, or frogs get sick.
Yep, keep ponds clean or frogs get sick.
That's the-
If you can remember that and remember that domains are the very top of that, then you'll be fine. So in your domain, you need to keep ponds clean or frogs get sick. So, first flap, I have to write all that down. It's just, we're going through it one at a time, so don't worry. So on the bottom of the flap, you're gonna write the level. So the one under taxonomy is gonna be domain.
So you open this.
You don't have to open it because you're right at the bottom right now. Just the name at the bottom. The information about the domain, you will write, yes, lift up the taxonomy flap, then you'll write that. But the name itself, you wanna keep on the outside so you can see it. Alright, so the three domains, and I've seen questions about domains on EOGs and benchmarks. You need to know the differences between the three. These are the most broadest ranges of life on the planet. You need to know that eukaryote means that they're multicellular, means they have more than one cell. So we are eukaryotes. The brown bear we did notes about yesterday is a eukaryote. Prokaryote means you have one. Think primary one. These types of organisms usually only survive under extreme conditions, so really hot temperatures, places that nothing else tends to live. So those really boiling hot mineral springs out west, you'll find a lot of these organisms living there. These are the organisms that survived since the beginning of the Earth. Back before there was a real good atmosphere, back when there was volcanic activity everywhere, when nothing else was alive, these guys were alive. And bacteria, we're going to be talking a lot about bacteria in our diseases unit. They come in three shapes: rod, spherical, so like a ball, or spiral, kind of curlicue. Not all bacteria is bad. Some of it is good. But they are a unique species, a unique set of organisms. All right, next flap, you're gonna write kingdom at the bottom as the title. And organisms are grouped into kingdoms based on their cell type. So plant cell, animal cell, no cell, or no nuclei, I should say. How many cells they have, and how they make food, so heterotrophs or autotrophs. There are only 5 kingdoms, Animalia, so the animals that, these are organisms that have to eat food in order to get nutrition. Plantae are the plants, they do photosynthesis. Fungi, they are heterotrophs, but they behave like plants. So they have their own domain, kingdom. Monera, which are like, kind of like bacteria. And Protista, which are your single-celled organisms. Like protozoans, they are found a lot of times in water. And a lot of them can make you sick if you happen to ingest them. Mm-hmm.
What's the last one? I haven't heard of
Protista, or the one before this?
No.
They're like single-celled organisms. They're microscopic. You can only see them with a microscope. We'll talk about them when we talk about the water unit. Do you remember what the next one is? So we're at keep, and we're going to ponds. Phylum, or phylum. Phylum, phylum. So in this category, things are starting to be grouped by common ancestor. So kind of like homologous structures. If they have a lot of homologous structures in common, they'll probably be in the same phylum. what's the next one? Class. Very good. Just need to staple it one more time in the middle. All right, for class, we're still grouping them by similarities, but now we're just getting more specific. And the more specific we get, the more of the groups there are. So we have a lot more classes than we do filing. And they're adding classes all the time. So if they discover a new organism and it kind of doesn't fit with any of the classes that they have to make a new class. And scientists argue about how many classes and orders and families there are. So when you try to figure out how many exactly there are, you're not going to get a good answer. Generally, there's over 100. But unless scientists come together and all agree about how these organisms are grouped, then we're not going to be able to know an exact number. Oh, we've got keep ponds clean. What's the next one? Keep ponds clean or, so order. Alright, so we've gone from hundreds, or at least over 100 of the classes, and we're getting more specific each level we go down. So we're starting to narrow down and group these by tighter and tighter specifications, and that means now we have thousands of orders. Again, we don't know exactly how many because scientists disagree, but we know that there are thousands of them. A few of the examples we put up there. Primates, that one should be pretty familiar to you. It's monkeys. It says from Old World to New World. That means from original, where they originally came from, which was mostly the African continent, and New World, which is a lot of Americas, mostly South America. Insectivora. Instead of being a carnivora, you're insectivora. It means you eat bugs. Carnivora makes sense, right? If you're from the order of Carnivora, what are you? You're a carnivore, which means you eat what? Meat. What if you're an herbivora? What do you eat then? You eat only plants. What about order omnivora? You eat both. I took zoology classes in college, and they had you memorize a lot of the orders that were the most popular, like for common pets and stuff. I don't remember many of them. I remember Lagomorpha. I remember that being bunnies. I don't know why I remember that. All right, what's the next one? Families. Yep, family of frogs. Keep ponds clean or frogs will die. Get sick. And if you have a better mnemonic you want to use, that's cool. As long as you remember it. All right, families. We've been narrowed down by common ancestors, homologous structures, and now we're using more specific terms like their size. How are they shaped? And how many mates they have. Some animals have one mate for life. Some have many. All right, what's the next level down? Genus, not genius. Genus. So this is where binomial nomenclature comes in, or the scientific name for organisms. It starts with genus. Genus is the first part of the name, so it's like the first name. So when you're writing binomial nomenclature, when you're given the organism's scientific name, you start with the genus, like it was the first name, and then the last name would be the species. Whenever you are writing the scientific name for an organism, you always italicize it. The genus is always capitalized. The species is not. So that's an example of our scientific name. Humans is our nickname. Our scientific name is Homo sapiens. The H is capitalized, the S is not. It's hard to write italicized in your notes, just do the best you can. One way to remember what binomial nomenclature is, Brooklyn, put the book on the back counter. Ooh. Binomial nomenclature. Bi means two. Nomial is name. So binomial nomenclature. So two names. What's the last one? The species, the most specific one. It's where you get your name at, your full scientific name. This is what I was talking about yesterday, that to be considered your own species, it means you can only breed with other members of your species to produce fertile offspring. So when you mate with your species, your babies can have babies. If you mate and your babies can't have babies, that means you and your mate are two different species. Does anybody know what IE means? Right here. It means basically in other words. One page to go. Alright, last flip, you're gonna title binomial nomenclature. This one right here. Yep. That means you didn't give yourself half an inch. This is the two-name naming system. Binomial, two names. Does anybody know what language the binomial nomenclature names are in? The language is Latin. A lot of science is in Latin. A lot of medical terminology is in Latin. So if you're wanting to go in the medical field, you're going to have to learn a lot of Latin terminology. Once you finish copying this down, if you need to go back, let me know. But you're going to glue this onto page 47. This is the page we skipped yesterday. You need to get a glue stick from the back, go ahead. There's supply boxes scattered around the room. No, quit playing blue. Glue the whole book in. Glue all of the back. Put it on page 47.
Man, shut up.
I remember they used to always say
Yeah, that's what we, yeah, that's what we, yeah, everybody just there.
this one we go shopping.
We're gonna be gone all day, that's, we get to go all day.
They had got good.
They don't come at home. They don't even- oh, that was the first, that was the one we played.
Pull up a pot of meal.
Alright, listen very carefully because we gotta work quickly,
Why you say yes to me?
which means stop talking. Thank you. I passed out 3 small pieces of paper and a baggie. Put the 3 small pieces of paper inside the baggie. Wait, leave out the Lego one. I want to picture the Legos. I need you to label some stuff on there. On this paper, you need to write down the colors of especially the 2 4-piece ones. And then I'm going to tell you what this is next. So I'm going to pass out if you want to go ahead and label hydrogen, the 2-piece ones. That's green. And then put the Legos in your bag.
There's some stuff like this.
1/3 in on each side.
What? I got my what? This the first one, Dummy. He's in a cover for it. Cover for it, I'm running it now.
Yeah, do the whole, put blue on the back page and put it on the whole page. So on your Lego sheet, the hydrogen is green. Oxygen is also green, but it is the 4-piece green.
Green, oxygen.
Alright, carbon will be purple.
Dang it. Dang it, you looked at me and made me drop my voice. There goes first.
The last one, chlorine, will be, I don't know what you want to call this, olive green. It's the only, 8-piece in there. Alright, listen to what I want you to do with these. These are for you to take home for extra credit. There are instructions on the little sheets in there. What you're going to do is practice making atoms, elements, molecules, and compounds. To get the extra credit, after you have practiced all of them, you need to take a picture of at least 2 of the combinations and post it on Twitter, post it on Instagram, or email it to me. You can email it to me too.
Email.
If you have no way to take pictures, if you have no way to take pictures, then you need to draw what you have, make sure it's in color, and then turn it in. So keep all that together. Let me make something real clear. These are Aiden and Logan's Legos, and I promised them that you guys would bring them back, because this is like half their Lego collection. But please bring them back, even if for some reason you decide not to do the extra credit, please bring them back.
Do it, I will.
I'm ready.
Once you have your Legos, put your name on them. There's a place on there to put your name.